Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our first Ask the Expert for 2026. Happy New Year to all of you, and we wish you a prosperous year ahead. My name is Ofense Hanyana, and I will be your host for today. And today we are discussing a very interesting and important topic. We will be going through matric results and mental health, and we will be discussing particularly about supporting teens through a high pressure time. We are joined today by Venetia Gordon. Venetia is a passionate mental health expert who supports others. She studied psychology at the University of Johannesburg and completed her honors at UNISA before joining the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. She dedicated 10 years to supporting people in crisis and improving access to mental health resources. She began as a volunteer and went on to hold various roles, including being a personal assistant and editorial assistant to the founder, Zane Wilson. She was a call center manager and ultimately operations manager. Motivated to work more directly with individuals, Venetia returned to her studies and qualified as a registered counselor. Her goal is to create safe and supportive spaces where people feel heard, guided, and empowered in their mental health journeys. Welcome, Venetia, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh my goodness, that was so overwhelming to hear. Thank you so much. Just in that moment, like all of those pictures just, like went through my mind. I was like, oh my goodness, it's so cool to be in this space now. So
I
thank you so
know,
much for
right?
having me.
You've really come far, and we're so inspired by you, Venetia.
That's the goal, to be
Yes,
inspiring.
yes. So we'll get straight into it. So why does matric results time feel so overwhelmingly intense for so many young people?
That's a big question, right? Because the assumption of when you finish matric is that now you're an adult and you're going to be able to make all these big decisions, right? Choose what to study, you know, where you're going to go study. You might have to leave home. Remember, school was when you were at home. You might need to leave home and study somewhere else and be a whole adult already. So it can be very overwhelming because just in that moment, you have to be a grown up. And I think what the perception is that it's easy to do that. And I think for a lot of young people, the almost, I don't want to say fear, but the scariness of it all comes to fore. And that can be very, very overwhelming. What I'd like to say is that it's not. We believe that matric is the be all and end all. But let's look at it backwards, right? And I'm going to say this because I'm one of those people, is that how many students go study for 1 year and decide that that's not for me and change their degree? So we need to realize that there is a step forward. Your decision now doesn't mean that you're limited or you're stuck in it and this needs to be the be all and end all. So I think that's the important thing I'd like to start off.
I love that. Also, just managing our expectations around what life looks like after matric, because it's really not a one size fits all situation. Everyone has their different stories, and just because yours is a little bit different from the next person doesn't mean that your life won't turn out to be an ultimate success. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And I think, the expectations that we have on ourselves, like I know that, like we say that, the expectations our families have on us and our schools and our teachers. And, we might have been like this really bright student and everyone had all of this like exceptional sort of hopes for us. And we also have those expectations for ourselves. But I think it's important to know that even if we don't reach that expectation, where we've reached is also so valuable, right? Taking one step is still one step. You might not have reached the top of the staircase, but that one step is still one step.
Like what you're saying is celebrating those small wins, because everyone is a win, hey, regardless of how big it is. The fact
Absolutely.
that you have put in the effort to go to school, to write your matric, that's already such a huge win, and you should pat yourself on the back for making that decision and being strong enough to make that choice and brave enough to make that choice and choose bigger and better for yourself. So, yes. And
Absolutely.
you were talking about pressures from society, from school and all of that. But where do you think most of the pressure comes from? Is it from external expectations or from young people's own self-pressure?
I think that's a difficult question to answer because I think people will be upset with me if I say either, right? But what I do think it's both. I think definitely it's both because we live in a society also now that is filled with a lot of information and a lot of people's experiences. So we have this internal sort of need to succeed, right? We have this internal need to succeed. We also have society's need to see us succeed, right? Then we have a myriad of information coming from social media, coming from things that we're absorbing from the outside world, right? And this often gives us that almost like that that age checklist.
Yes.
By this age I must do this, by this age I must do this, by this age. But that's not reality often.
Mm,
I mean, that's probably 1 in 1,000 or 10,000 people that can fit that. I promise you, none
mm,
of us fit that checklist. And I think that's where we need to come to forward to say, where are we right now? And I think the biggest way and the only way, the best way, let's say, to notice that is to check in with ourselves. Where are we now? Where are we emotionally? Where are we in the way that we're feeling? What do we actually like? We also remember are exposed to this is a great career and this is a great career and this is a great career, right? We're exposed to a lot. Let's be honest. It's ginormous. The options are ginormous. There's so many, right?
mm,
But what is authentic to us?
mm,
And often we are not asking ourselves that question. We're asking ourselves, what's going to end the fastest? What's going to give us the best job? What's going to, you know, look good in society, right? For lack of a better example, right?
mm,
But what is authentic to us? What
mm,
career path? What interests us? And sometimes we're not asking ourselves these questions. And I think a lot of young people, because and I'm older, so I get it, is that, you're exposed to so many things that we weren't exposed to. And it can be very overwhelming. So taking a step back and speaking to your trusted family member, an older sibling, a cousin, a counselor, speaking to someone about these expectations, speaking to someone about these realities might actually give you the guidance or clarity to actually
mm,
reflect on some of this. And I think a lot of us are a little bit nervous to ask anyone for this type of help. And I think a lot of matriculants actually do end up feeling very um, shameful, for the lack of a better word,
mm,
shameful to ask for this help or that they're even having these thoughts.
mm, mm. Sure, that's so true. I like the fact that you have emphasized the importance of doing some self-reflection and also trying to step away from the what will people say around our lives and our life choices. Really just staying true and authentic to yourself is so important. Yes, we want to please others, but at the end of the day, when you reach The end of your life, you want to be happy with how your life looked and not want to be happy with how other people wanted your life to look. So, yeah, just giving yourself time to self-reflect, and that could take a month or it could take a few years. So, it's also important for you to be gentle and take things step by step. You also mentioned, the feelings around all of these expectations, but I'd also like to find out, right now with matric results, what do you think young people are feeling right now? What are they experiencing during this time that adults don't fully see or understand?
The end of school can be very overwhelming, and the starting and the transition into a university life or an adult life can be very overwhelming. And I think a lot of adults or a lot of parents, and I'm not saying that they're wrong, because what happens is they also are concerned about their kids. They're concerned about their children and they want the best for them. Their intentions is not, I think, to hurt them or to further overwhelm them. But I think they might not have the words to be able to convey the care in how their children are perceiving their words, if that makes sense. They might be saying things like, "Don't worry, you can try again." Just the tone of voice and just how they said that. The child might not be ready to hear that. What they might be ready to hear is, you know what, whatever happens, I'm here with you. We're going to figure it out together. We're going to manage the situation. So, whatever the results are, it's not your definition. It's not that result does not define you. It's an effort, it's a try. Remember also just writing matric exams, and I think a lot of us that have written matric exams can say this. Just writing that exam is stressful enough.
Mhm.
It's very overwhelming
Yeah.
because it is at the back of your head that this is deciding my university career, this is deciding the acceptance to university. So there's a lot of stress and pressure sitting there behind us. And
Yeah.
often it's hard to actually move past that. And I think a lot of the times our young people are feeling very nervous, very scared, a little bit of sometimes guilt to say, like, did we do enough? Did we study enough? They question it at every time. And also, you might get other students that speak to them. So, like, they're in a class, right? In children talk, and they're in a class and they're like, oh, you didn't get that right. Oh, my goodness, this was so easy. And remember, we're all different. And that
Mhm.
can be even more overwhelming. So, I think to avoid that, um, I know with some of my clients who were young people that were writing matric exams, one of the main things I told them was, is that if you are uncomfortable with listening to other people's stories, and you know that, listen, one is telling you that, no, you must do this math sum like this, or you must do it like this. If that is causing you to feel overwhelmed, move yourself away from that space, because you have to know what's good for you. You need to know that I know how to do this in my way and not get overwhelmed and caught up in that little bit of a, what's it? A little bit of a, and I lost the train of my thought there. But get, caught up on that train where it's just
Yeah.
going, going, and going. So I think
Mm.
it's so important for young people to know that it's okay to feel nervous. It's okay. It's normal to feel this nervous.
Yes.
It's not strange. You're not odd if you're feeling this nervous. It's okay. You can feel this nervous, but always know what you can do about it. If you're feeling anxious and you're feeling nervous, speak to someone. Go outside, get some fresh air. Go sit outside in the sun for a bit. Maybe listen to your favorite music, right? I know I'm one of those people that when I'm feeling a little bit low, I'll watch an episode of Friends, right? And it just puts me in that little bit of a nice feeling mode. Do that.
Yeah.
Do what works for you. If you don't want to talk about the results, you don't want to have a conversation about it to anyone, and you just want to be, that's also okay. You're allowed to say, I don't want to talk about it right now. Can we maybe talk about something else or do something else? And you're allowed to do that.
Absolutely. I love how you actually put that all together. Normalizing the feelings around anxiety and nervousness and restlessness. I mean, it's completely normal, but also shutting yourself away from the outside noise because that can really just exacerbate the feelings of anxiety. So, thank you so much for that, Venetia. And sometimes you, as a young person, you'll be feeling all sorts of things. Things will be going on for you, and you're not able to put the language to it, or you're unable to describe what's going on for you. But for somebody watching who is a young person, what are some of the subtle signs that they can identify in themselves where they feel like, you know what, they may be struggling mentally or emotionally during this time?
Absolutely. And I think those are so important for us to be aware of how we're feeling, right? That comes back to that check-in, like how am I feeling? What's going on? Am I feeling the nervousness in my stomach? Am I maybe going to the loo one too many times? And that's the nervousness, right? Maybe I'm sleeping too much. Maybe I'm like, I wake up in the morning and I'm still tired. And then I sleep for a couple of more hours. And then I wake up and then maybe have a cup of coffee or I have a cup of tea and I'm still tired. So it's sleeping excessively or not sleeping at all. So maybe you're going to bed and you're just, you know, lying there and your eyes are open and you want to sleep, but it's just not coming. So that's important to notice if you're not sleeping, because that means you're not getting the right amount of rest. And rest and sleep, I cannot stress how important it is to actually be able to regulate your nervous system, because the less you sleep, the more anxious and more nervous you're going to feel the next day, right? Because you haven't rested. Your brain hasn't rested, right?
Mm.
So keeping aware of that. And I think parents can also pay attention to that a little bit, just to notice how much are they sleeping? Are they struggling to sleep? What's going on there? Avoiding conversations to the extreme. So like say, for example, the moment you hear the like the word matric, right? And this, I know it's a stupid thing, but the moment you hear the word matric, you automatically feel like you want to flee. You just want to run away. That's also not okay, right? You need to be able to, okay, I'm hearing this word. Okay, it's bringing up a little bit of feelings. What are those feelings? Let's feel it. Am I feeling it tingles? Am I feeling a little bit of pressure? Am I getting a headache? Am I getting a bit of a cold sweat? Like that. And I know it's hot now, so everyone's sweating. I know it's gross, but it's fine, right? But you're feeling a little bit of that, that uncomfortableness, right? So being aware of that, um, maybe also minimizing the like a nervous minimizing. And I think parents can pick this up, or maybe older siblings will be able to pick up this minimizing, this joking about it, like, it's not so bad, it'll be fine. But when they go away, you can see the face almost fall. So noticing the facial features, noticing the tone of voice and the drop, just that drop in the eyes almost, right? And I think one of the things is we know the matrics that we are loved ones, like our loved ones that are in matric, we know them. We know some of them are perfectionists, some of them are just going to sail through. We know them. We know them. And everyone is unique, right? And we have to also have the ways to manage them, because perfection is very very overwhelming. I know that because I'm very much that way, and it can be very hard to manage your own expectations when it comes to perfection. And those are things that I think loved ones need to be extra aware of. And using comparisons never helps. So let's avoid at all, like that is a big no-no. No comparisons, whether it be older siblings, younger siblings, friends, cousins,
Yeah.
best
Yeah.
friends, like, oh, your friend is doing so well, or look, they studied 5 hours extra. No, we're not comparing. So I think
Mm.
that's a big no-no. I just had to say that because I know how bad it can feel.
Yeah, thank you. And I think you stepped into the next question that I was gonna ask you, like parents and caregivers really want to help, but they don't know how to. They're very unsure about what to say, how to be more supportive, whether it's in the physical sense or the emotional sense. But like, what does genuine supportive parenting look like at this stage for someone who's waiting for their results?
Thinking,
Besides, like a comparison, but like, what does it look like?
I think that's also sometimes can be very, it's not like a one size fits all, right? We
Mm,
said that in the beginning. It's not a one size fits all because we're all unique, we're all different, we all listen to things in a different way, right? I think I'd like to give an example here, right? And I know it's a strange and bit of an odd example, but I'm going to give you an example anyhow. Is that, when we are texting, on WhatsApp, when you're texting someone, right?
mm, mm,
And you texting them and they're just words, right? I mean, a text only has words unless you put a smiley or a jokey or whatever it is. But
mm,
a text is just words. You can't hear the tone. You can't hear care. You can't hear consideration. So because we don't have a tone in text, if I am feeling upset and you are texting me and telling me, um, I'll speak to you later, I'm a little bit busy, I'm going to hear it as, I'll speak to you later, I'm a bit busy. Can you hear the
mm.
difference in the tone that
Yeah,
happened? Right?
yeah.
Because I'm feeling upset, I'm going to hear it in my head or read it in my head with that tone. Do you see
Mm,
that? So,
yeah.
similarly, with our young ones, right, that are already maybe feeling a little bit nervous and anxious and a little bit, not 100% feeling well, if you say something like everything is going to be okay, they hearing you dismissing my feelings and
Mm,
you just telling me everything's going to be okay, but how do you know this? How do you know this? And
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's what we have to check in with. We actually don't realize how important tone of voice is. Just the
Mm,
tone, just
yes.
just the tone. So my best advice or my best sort of suggestion to loved ones, right, is that just being there, and saying,
Mm,
I'm here with you. I'm on this journey with you. Even if you're just holding their hand and saying, I'm here with you, we've got this, right?
mm,
And whatever happens, we'll do it together. And whatever happens, it's going to be for the best. The options are not ended if Matric doesn't go exactly as you planned. There's so many options, so very many. There's second chances, there's writing the exams again, there's doing a bridging course at a university, there's starting off with UNISA and doing it correspondence and then going into university the second year. There are so many options. And understanding those options can be very important to the parent as well as to the child, because the parent will be overwhelmed as well, but they need to compose themselves. So they need to understand those options also.
mm, mm. Absolutely. I like that. I like that you're encouraging parents to not say everything is going to be okay, but rather that I'm here for you. So it's kind of just also acknowledging the fact that the journey ahead may be tough, but we're going to go through this together. Managing the fact that, hey, like you're going to experience challenges and obstacles, and that's completely normal. And I'm going to walk with you step by step through this. And also, helping the parents themselves to manage them expectations around Matric and life after Matric. Yesterday we had a TikTok live, and our expert had mentioned that sometimes parents also kind of project their own experiences onto their children from Matric. And instead of projecting those experiences, rather to just acknowledge what your child is going through right now and how best you can support them right now. Because when you matriculated versus when your child is matriculated is completely different times and there are different opportunities. And so it's to just say, okay, let's navigate this together right now with what you're going through right now. So yeah, I love that. Thank you, Manisha. It makes a lot
The
of sense.
validation, it's just the validation of feelings. Like,
Mm,
I know you're feeling like this, and it's okay that you're feeling like this, right? I
mm,
mean, I was just so I recently went on holiday and I went to like these theme parks, and I get
yeah,
very nervous about rides. But it's okay to be nervous about rides, right? I mean, it's
exactly.
scary for some people. But
Yeah.
imagine if I told myself, no, this is just not normal.
Mm,
Then I would think something is wrong. But it
mm,
is normal. But we just need to also, with saying that, we need to also notice in our kids that how anxious are they? So how anxious are they? Are they actually showing signs of like sleeping too much, as I mentioned, you know, not being able to sleep, maybe they withdrawing completely, noticing that what is too much and speaking to someone about it. And that's when you can obviously phone SADAG and have a conversation with the counselor and say, I'm concerned about my child because this and this is going on. What can I do?
mm. And I think what you are talking about ties into my next question about, you're waiting for your results, but you're feeling anxious, but the anxiousness is constant and it's extremely overwhelming to the point where I'm crying, I'm having outbursts, I'm unable to get out of my room. You're telling me to take a walk, but I really don't feel like taking a walk. So, what can somebody do in that instance?
I would absolutely call into the helpline. If you have a counselor, go and speak to them. I would suggest that, I mean, parents actually maybe book a session with a counselor or psychologist for their child just to manage these expectations and feelings that they might be having, because maybe it's actually impacting them to the extent where, remember, nervousness and overwhelm is normal until it actually disturbs the quality of our lives. And when
Mm,
I say the quality of our lives, the ability to interact with our loved ones, the ability to sleep well, the ability to eat well, the ability to actually, like what you said, like I don't even want to take a walk outside, right?
mm,
That
yeah.
is disturbing the quality of our lives. And that's why I mentioned, if a parent is feeling like, listen, I've noticed that my child is really not doing well, then it's time to reach out. And if you are a child that is struggling like this, and maybe you don't have a parent or you don't have a guardian to speak to, call the SADAG helpline, speak to the counselor. Just having sometimes a conversation, just having a conversation sometimes is just that sort of safe space that you need, and encouraging that safe space, right? Having that safe space is probably the most magical thing of any sort of mental health space. It's that safe space, being safe where you can speak, you can share, you can say, this is what I'm feeling and I don't know what to do about it.
Absolutely. And we actually reaching the end of our discussion. But if there's one message you most want the young people and parents who are awaiting matric results to hear, what would you say to them?
I think I've said this in it already, but there are options for options. There is in no way, and I say this maybe because I'm a product of it, right? Because I studied something first and then decided I don't want to do that and I want to do psychology, is that, 1 year in the greater scheme of things, like 1 year in the greater scheme of things is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. It's 1 year. And
Yeah,
if you have to redo something, if you have to try a degree, if you take a year off to, intern somewhere and see if this is something that you like, those are all experiences. And I don't think that we should, box ourselves. Because I think one thing that the world has taught us now is that we don't have to be in the box, right?
exactly.
We can be
Exactly.
out of the box and we can think out of the box. So that would be my one message, is that there are options for options, and just navigate those options, get all the information, and give yourself a little bit of grace. Parents and students, give yourself a little bit of grace. You're doing the best that you can with what you have, and that is phenomenal.
Oh, thank you so much, Vanessa. This was an insightful conversation for young people and for parents and even for myself. And I just want to remind you, young people, that please just be gentle on yourself during this time. You did your best, and as Venetia had explained, there's so many different options that you can explore. They like to say that the world is your oyster, and it really is if you open up your mind and also seek opportunities. And if you are feeling constantly anxious or nervous or overwhelmed or even depressed, please contact the SADAG helpline. We are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And you can find us on 0800 567 567, or you can try our other line, which is 0800 456 789. I'm wishing you all the best and have a good afternoon. Thank you and bye.
Bye.